The telecom companies have lost the case, in fact, against the Department of Telecom. Now, this will come as a big blow for most of these telecom companies, given that, their operations will certainly be affected. Just to put things into perspective, Bharti Airtel, for example, is only present in 11 circles, so they will only be able to cater to these companies. Now, what maintains to be seen is the course of action, of course, that is taken by most of these companies. They will certainly be going ahead and will be moving a higher court for an interim relief. Getting a check on the stock prices of most of these companies. You've got an Idea Cellular, very undeterred as we speak, still holding on to its gains. But I think it was a Bharti Airtel that saw a bit of a blip. Let's just get in a check also with the latest updates coming in. The 3G intra-circle roaming packs are illegal. But I'm just going to warn you that it is the news wires which are quoting this. So this is going to, of course, as I mentioned, be a big blow, given that the existing ARPUs also will be affected for most of these companies.
Absolutely. It's not just going to be, the existing customers of the company that are obviously going to face the brunt of it, but it's also going to be a question about this kind of migration we might just see in terms of the high-end users, because do remember the 3G services are those high ARPU customers that they are dealing with. So all these telecom companies, of course, were clearly focused on the 3G roaming, because this will also pave the way ahead for how the 4G auctions actually come through. And the fact that the TDSAT has ruled and said that 3G intra-circle roaming packs are illegal is, of course, a big blow, because we might just see not just, a tempering in the ARPUs that each of these telecom companies are working with, but also in terms of migration, what's possibly going to happen, especially given that each of these companies are working with very limited licenses. So do remember, we've got a Bharti Airtel that's working with only 13 licenses. We've got a Vodafone which has licenses in 9 circles, and we've got an Idea that has licenses for about 11 circles. Not just that, of course, if this, this entails, of course, an appeal to higher authority, and subsequently, if it is said that we might just see a fresh round of 3G auctions come through, what sort of impact that's going to have on the balance sheets of the company, the capital expenditure also that it will entail is also going to come in. Not just that, TDSAT, I believe, has given a split verdict in the 3G roaming case. It's asked the Department of Telecom to issue fresh notices to telcos.
Okay, but let's get a better perspective. We've got Harit Shah, Senior Research Analyst at Nirmal Bang Institutional Equities, joining in on the phone line from Mumbai. Harit, how would you react to this news? Because this is going to be a big blow for most of the telecom companies, given that the 3G intra-circle roaming packs have been deemed illegal.
Yeah, of course. I mean, this is one way or one route which telcos were using to, try and expand 3G coverage, given that none of them had one 3G spectrum across, on a pan-India basis. So, yeah, this is definitely a negative development for telecom companies. And in any case, here, they haven't seen a major pickup in terms of 3G penetration over the last few quarters, despite the launch having been taking place for quite a while now. So this, obviously would be an additional negative, which would obviously make it slightly more, difficult for telcos to monetize the 3G investments, which have been quite substantial, given that the auction was so highly competitive.
Harit, just break it down in terms of the numbers for us, because you did mention there was a substantial amount of investment involved in getting and procuring those licenses. So as of the moment, what sort of revenues flow in from the 3G services, and going ahead, if we are probably going to see a fresh round of bidding, what sort of burden could this entail for the telecom companies?
See, at this at this point, obviously, operators do not really break up revenues separately into 3G, non-3G, 2G revenues, that sort of thing. But I think if you look at from a subscriber perspective, around I think not more than 3 to 4% of their subscriber base is actually is active at this point. Consists of active 3G subscribers. So obviously, from a subscriber perspective, it's not very significant at this point, and this will obviously make things a little more difficult going forward for telcos to monetize it further.
Harit, just wanted to also get in your perspective, because the key beneficiary of this verdict would also be the government and possibly Reliance Industries with respect to its telecom foray, because this ban will also allow the government to go forward and raise money by accelerating another round of the 3G spectrum auction, as Megha brought up. What is your opinion on the same?
Well, see, at this point, that's a little premature to comment as far as future round of 3G auction is concerned. But what we can obviously say at this point is that operators are pretty much hamstrung by high debt levels. If you look at their debt-equity ratios and or the coverage ratio, and also expenditure on amortization of 3G licenses and BWA licenses. All these, add up to quite a substantial amount for telecom companies, and I'm not too sure about the extent to which they can, further take on debt on their balance sheets, because then that will again, further constrain their ability to grow on a profitable basis. So yeah, I'm not too sure, of how much further debt these guys can take on now in future.
Thanks very much, Harit, for joining in and giving us that perspective. So it is certainly going to be a near-term negative for these companies. We've also got Balbir Singh, Senior Partner at DSK Legal, who is joining in on the phone line from New Delhi. Balbir, thanks very much for taking the time out for joining in. Just to keep you up to speed, you have the TDSAT order which has been declared, and it has the telecom companies, in fact, have lost the case against the Department of Telecom. What is your opinion?
I have not seen the order, and I'm hearing from you that they have lost. If they have lost, which means that the spectrum sharing agreements which these telecos had signed inter se, I think if that has gone, there's a significant of revenue which these guys are going to lose, because if a subscriber in a particular circle is moving to another circle, and in the another circle, because of this spectrum, they were the sharing agreements, they were using the spectrum in the circle in which she is traveling. Which means that now they'll not be able to do that, and the subscribers of one circle, based on these inter-sharing, spectrum sharing agreements, will not be able to use spectrum of another operator in another circle, which means that a huge loss to these operators. And practically, I think, to my mind, this is not the way forward in the current scenario, because once the spectrum has been charged, even say for a teleco A in a particular circle.
But we're just going to have to cut you short there. We've got Mr. Manjul Bajpai, counsel for the GSM lobby, who joins in to give more clarity on what exactly this case means. Because just to reiterate, in fact, the TDSAT has given a split verdict in the 3G roaming case. Mr. Bajpai, if you could just give us more details regarding the same.
Well, the judgment was pronounced this morning, and it is a split verdict. The chairman has held that there was a violation of principles of natural justice in issuing the notice, and therefore he has set aside the notices and has given an opportunity to the DOT, in case they want to issue fresh notices, they can.
So just to clarify, this in fact does not mean that the telecom companies have all in all lost the case against the Department of Telecom.
Sorry?
This does not mean that the telecoms have lost the case against the Department of Telecom, just to clarify.
No.
So then, Mr. Bajpai, what is going to be the next step, and does this mean that 3G services will be suspended as of now from all these telecom companies, or what is the path ahead?
No, we'll have to examine the judgment, because in my personal opinion, chairman's judgment should prevail. And therefore, in my opinion, the telecom companies have succeeded in the matter, but we'll have to examine the judgment and then take a call on this.
So, sir, then why has, the TDSAT asked the Department of Telecom to issue fresh notices to the telecom companies? Okay, so we've lost Mr. Bajpai there, but we've got Prashant Singhal with us, who is a partner at Ernst & Young. He joins us on the line from Delhi. Mr. Singhal, great to have you with us. Of course, this is the topic that's, on everybody's minds right now, that the TDSAT has given a split verdict on the case, the 3G roaming pack case. So, give us your first reactions on the same.
Yes, I really didn't follow what the split verdict meant, because it was a bit unclear. That does it mean that the companies cannot offer the 3G roaming services, or does it mean that the department will have to now relook at the notices which had been issued, and therefore their notices have been squashed, and if they want, they can issue fresh notices. Now, if it means that, then it's obviously starting from ground zero for them to find ways and means of saying that this is illegal. I think we'll need to get a greater clarity on the judgment before putting...
Right, Prashant, we certainly do need to garner more clarity on the same, so that's why just going to cut you short, come to you in a minute. We've got Gopal Jain, counsel for the GSM lobby, who now joins in with us on the phone line. Mr. Jain, just to clarify once again, if you could give us more details that you've garnered, because all that we have right now is that the TDSAT has given a split verdict in the 3G roaming case.
According to me, the interim protection was given by both the chairman and the honorable member, and the High Court upheld that. Therefore, that arrangement will continue till the final say or final judgment comes on this issue.
So one more point, you did say further legal action. What exactly are we talking about, sir?
Well, that will have to be considered, but the TRA Act gives legal remedies of filing an appeal and other legal remedies which you have under the Constitution. That would have to be considered and decided.
To challenge a TDSAT judgment, to which court do you go?
Well, the law says if it's a final judgment, you can appeal in the Supreme Court.
So are we to understand that?
No, I'm not making any comment on that. We have to read the judgment and then take it.
Fair enough. Thank you so much, Gopal Jain.
Okay, that was Gopal Jain, counsel for the GSM lobby, and speaking with our reporter Nitya Balakrishnan, who has been on top of those details. But Prashant, if you heard it out, we spoke about the kind of legal remedies that will be concerned, and with respect to most of the telecom companies challenging this in order to, get interim relief, they can appeal in the Supreme Court. What do you believe will be the next course of action?
So, as I could understand from Gopal, it seems that that the arrangement would continue till such time that the fresh notices are issued. That's what I could make out from him, which would really mean that for the companies they would continue with the 3G roaming arrangement.
Right. Prashant, then continuing with what this means, what this verdict really means for, we've of course got the 2G auctions, and the deadline for that is the 31st of August. And in addition to that, 4G is also up on the card. So in terms of how this is going to impact, the entire auction process for the telecom sector in the country, what do you think is going to be happening? Especially, if the order had been upheld, we might just have seen more arrangements of this sort going ahead.
That's right. So I think if the order is negative and it does not allow, or it kind of takes or creates uncertainty on the 3G ICR, then clearly it has an impact on the auctions, because the auctions are no more the voice auctions. The spectrum is technology neutral, can be used for 2G, 3G, or if the technology allows for 4G. Therefore, when people are going to bid, if there's no uncertainty, or if there's significant uncertainty on whether the 3G ICR arrangements are legal or not, it would certainly have a negative impact on the auctions. So before the auctions, there has to be a clarity how whether 3G ICR is legal or not, and if it is not legal, then we will see lesser money being raked in. If it is legal, then obviously there may be greater utilization of spectrum. Now, obviously, all that depends upon also the reserve price, which is hopefully being reconsidered, and the split of spectrum between the new players and the old players, and how the methodology of spectrum auction is going to be devised by the DOT. But this uncertainty would have a significant impact on the auctions.
Sure, and Prashant, on account of the fact that the TDSAT has asked them to issue a fresh notice, do you think that this perhaps paves the way for another round of a 3G auction?
Not really. If this is not allowed, and if there is a fresh notice and litigation which is going to start with, one, we have to start thinking about what's going to happen to customers who are already on 3G through the ICR roaming route. And it would certainly mean that the spectrum which is going to be now auctioned, some of the operators may look at that spectrum for the use of 3G. But we should also be aware that 1800 really doesn't support too much of 3G. So globally, we haven't seen 1800 supporting 3G or 3G services being provided on 1800 band. So we'll again get into a confused and an uncertain stage from an operator perspective for provision of services on high-speed data.
Prashant, some of the comments that are coming in from the chairman of the TDSAT, who said that the principle of natural justice has been violated, and in light of this, given that most of the telecom companies are already dealing with significant amount of debts on their books, and if we have another round of auctions that will happen, how exactly would this impact the financial viability of the telecom sector as a whole, and specifically some of those listed names, if you've had a look at them, the likes of a Bharti as well as an Idea?
Yeah, I think the clarity would need to come on whether the borrowing can be on spectrum, and if the borrowing can be on spectrum, then there is a good hope for further lending to happen. Having said that, the companies which are listed and looking at their balance sheets, they still have some juice. If they want to go and borrow, I mean, they're strong performing companies. They can certainly go ahead and borrow, and I'm sure. Looking at the global ratios which would be available, the lenders would still be keen because these companies are generating a fairly robust EBITDA. All two of them, and Vodafone, looking at their numbers from their global segment reporting that they provide.
Right.
So